Stick past him here, and all I had to do was just knock it in the opposite corner, just like Jimmy Greaves used to do, you know, opposite corner, and that was it.
I got just on there with a bottle coming out, but they could have hit me with. I told him, break, he wouldn't have bothered. I was so happy, you know. We'd got to the final of the European Cup. Marvellous.
Fate decreed that it would be Benfica again, and that the venue would be Wembley. Dennis Law put a brave face on it, but an injury-plagued season culminated in a knee operation which ruled him out and ushered local boy Brian Kidd in, a European Cup finalist on his 19th birthday. The stage was set. The long quest for the Holy Grail was almost over.
You were always aware of how important it was to him after what he had gone through at Munich. And it was as if we all felt that it was written that he had to be the man in charge of the first English team to win the European Cup.
There's Bobby Charlton.
I thought that it was already fated that we were going to win it. I thought that, no, this is for us. And we knew the Portuguese, we knew they were great players, but there was no way that they were going to beat us.
And there is Matt Busby, and how most people in this stadium, and I'm sure in the television audience, are praying for him at this moment. United have got Benfica on the run now. Sadler, Charlton, a goal! He scored! Charlton has scored! Torres, now to Graça, Zé Augusto. Torres, and a chance, it's equaliser by Graça. Simoes, Benfica are marked in the middle, this is Eusebio! Oh, what a save by Stepney! And what a sportsman Eusebio, when he could have won that match, to applaud Stepney like that. Get right behind Manchester United, and it's a goal! Goal by Kidd! Best Charlton in the middle, so too is Aston. Charlton, another! He's got another! 9 minutes gone, and this must be it now!
As soon as the match was won, everyone went straight to him, you know, because he was the one that they wanted to pat on the back and say, well, and I think then everybody could really say, you know, that, well, that was something for the lads that had died in the first attempt, but it was a very emotional time.
Everybody wants to shout now. Well done, Bobby Charlton. Well done, Manchester United.
My first football game was the 1968 European Cup final, and I won my tickets through my football club. Georgie Best was my favourite player, and I think he was the first real superstar, really. It was just a magical moment for a sort of 13-year-old watching his football team in Wembley, and so it was a pretty strong attachment from there on in.
This was fantasy football, an appointment with destiny. The club and its visionary manager, who championed the cause of English involvement in the European Cup, had won the European Cup on English soil. His captain, who had survived with him the tragedy that had somehow fed their infatuation, had scored the goals that put the giant trophy in his hands at last. This was as good as it gets. Months on from conquering Europe, Manchester United entered the 70s in transition. Jock Stein had been approached to succeed Sir Matt Busby on his retirement, but when he declined, Busby decided to take Wilf McGuinness under his management wing. It cast a big shadow.
It's rather a big thing to get first of all into team manager at Manchester United, but from one of the staff. He's a boy that has the potential, but As I've said before, everybody starts at coach and then a chief coach become team manager, and I think this is probably the best thing for Wilf at the present time.
Do you think he's given you enough authority in this position as chief coach to get you by at Old Trafford?
Yes, I think so. I think it'll be something I'll be able to get my teeth into with the help of the staff here.
Being 31 was a handicap. It would have been better if he'd have stayed on from my point of view and took me on as his number 2 and then possibly developed and learnt more that way. We had players like Charlton, Law and Bess, you know, 3 world-class players, and having grown up with Bobby Charlton, that might have been difficult, especially when I left Bobby Charlton and Dennis Law out of the team. I dropped them. I thought I dropped the atom bomb at the time. And people said I would have dropped George Best if I could have found him, you know. Still. But George, no. George had some super games. And let's face it, we're talking about world-class players.
Best is up front. There he is, the defence split. Can he do it? He surely must. Grand. Collins' header that was. Comes the Best. And it's there. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
But Best was now causing Wilf McGuinness more problems than he was solving. Christmas 1970, 18 months into Mission Impossible, and a home defeat at Arsenal's hands cost the new manager the support of the fans and the board. As McGuinness resumed his original post with the reserves, Samat reluctantly resumed responsibility for the first team, pending a further appointment.
The club and the board of directors are determined, probably in their own minds, it should be a figure, it should be a man that's got experience, it should be a man that's handled players in the situation. That doesn't necessarily mean first class. There's some great managers in the second division. I could tell you 1 or 2 myself. But,
can you name me 1 or 2?
Well, I think this Frank O'Farrell's a very, very promising manager.
Busby gave up any involvement in the club's management to join the board of directors. O'Farrell gave up Leicester City to steer Manchester United 5 points clear of the rest of the First Division by Christmas, with a little help from the usual suspects.
Dennis Law running beautifully. Dennis Law there, and the ball is still there. It's free. Dennis Law, and he's scored. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. He deserved that.
Players are losing this ball in the sun, but it was Best who picked up that kid flick. Driven wide. Yes! Kids cross, O'Neill, Best, and McIlroy! And that's a beautiful ball from Best to Morgan, and Morgan's got a real chance here, and he's made it!
And we were at the top of the league, and then when we lost a couple of games, all of a sudden the secret Frank O'Farrell came out. The coaching manual suddenly appeared and the blackboard, and it just all changed. I don't think we ever lost a game on the blackboard. I think we drew a couple, but I don't think we ever lost any. He spent months with me asking me to head a ball, and I kept saying to him, well, Frank, I'm crossing the ball. How can I cross it and head it at the same time? But he couldn't understand that.
Blythe coming in for Palace. And this has been their greatest afternoon. And there's Rodgers. Will this be 5? It's going to be 5. It is 5.
The end of Frank O'Farrell's 18 months in the job. United, badly in need of a tonic, had sent for the dock. Fasten your seatbelts.
It takes a bit of time to find out whether you need new players or new signings. This is not always the answer. I think you must give the players who are there the opportunity.
I was in a terrible state, actually. I mean, you don't really realise the condition the club was in, actually. It needed about 16 players, not half a dozen. I brought Ali Forsyth in from the national team, the right full-back. We got big Jim Holton at the heart of the defence from Shrewsbury as well, for 80,000 quid. Buchanan was already here, who I had already recommended to Frank O'Farrell. And we later on, we got Stuart Houston, who I had as a kid at Chelsea. I think the most I spent was Lou Macari. 200,000 quid, which today it's peanuts to them.
Yes, Macari sets Old Trafford alight.
Players are brought to clubs when the club's struggling, and I came along with a